Corbolic V2. This is a super safe and effective natural anabolic. Not only is this product going to help you increase protein synthesis, which basically means muscle recovery and growth, it also may inhibit myostatin, which is a protein in your body that is known to inhibit muscle growth. This is a complete natural anabolic that works through multiple different pathways, has multiple trademarked ingredients. If you are a natural athlete looking for that edge, Corbolic V2 is what you need. Get yourself some.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Pro Physique Code. It is Tuesday, August 12th, and we just had one heck of a weekend. We've had a great couple weeks. Thank you guys for all the listens. Lexi, you want to announce our milestone?
Yeah, so we hit, I think it was officially on Saturday. This past Saturday, we hit 1.5 million unique downloads for our podcast, which was really exciting because I feel like I've been really watching the metrics recently and it's growing pretty quickly. So I feel like a lot of people are even
So
just
do me a favor, guys, because we're really curious about this. Comment, if you're on the YouTube page right now and watching this, comment below how long you've been listening. Since day one, 3 months, 6 months, a year. We're just curious because I feel like the downloads have been growing. So I assume there's a lot of new listeners, and I now get stopped very regularly. I was at a show Saturday and a lot of people said they love the podcast. So yeah, it does, when people say something in public, it helps. Makes you want to do more.
It does.
Oh, absolutely. And I think we were all kind of talking after this weekend. So when this comes out, it'll be about a week after, I guess a full week after we had our first live podcast this past weekend in Fort Lauderdale. And it was really cool because actually a lot of our attendees weren't even like our own clients or weren't even pro physique athletes. It were just people that came that listened to the podcast. And so we love that. I love how, this podcast reaches people beyond just our team as well.
Yeah, because a lot of times we get to help people that are on our team, right? They come to a lot of events and things like that. But it's a lot of fun to help people that we've never heard of, never spoken to, never had really any interactions with, and it's like they're all already like a member of the family, right? It's awesome.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's funny too because I feel like people that listen to us every Monday, we haven't maybe met them in person, but then when we do meet in person, they know all these different things about us, from just listening to us every week.
And if you come to our events too, no, like we're not trying to sell you on working with us or anything else or poach you from anyone else. We're just trying to teach and have a good time and enjoy each other and enjoy the sport. So don't worry about coming and getting a sales pitch or anything like that. This isn't a timeshare commitment.
That is a
This is
great.
No, the only thing we did talk about was our the event in San Diego in October. So we are having another event this year for the first time ever. We're doing two, but we're doing it at Brett's Gym in San Diego because everybody on the West Coast kept saying, "Hey, come to the West Coast." So
We listen, guys. I mean, it's funny because I posted a little question box when we were driving home on Sunday, Paul, about like where do people want to see us next? And hey, it's a bonus if you want us to come to a really cool spot. Like San Diego is gonna be perfect because Brett has a gym there, but it's gonna cater to a lot of our West Coast people because I feel like that's been for a while. We've had a lot of West Coast clients telling us, come out our way, come out our way. And like it's hard because we are all in Florida. So that's why we do a lot of our events over here. But yeah, we're going to cater to those out on the West and it's going to be a fun time. It's going to be the weekend before the Olympia. So I think it's like October 2nd, 3rd, 4th time frame. But yeah, it's going to be a blast.
yeah, and that's going to be a paid 3-day event. It's going to include meals and some social events and some presentations and a lot more hands-on time. But yeah, it'll be us, Brett, Lana. It's going to be good. It's going to be real good.
Yeah. Us three, Brett and Lana right now, right?
Yeah.
It's going to be us three, Brett and Lana.
Yeah. So yeah, the I don't know if it's listed under our events page yet, but if it is, the tickets actually for this one, because Brett's Gym is smaller, it is a little more limited. Anyway, the podcast today, based on the thumbnail or the title, you guys already probably know this, but I just think it's time to have an open discussion about the I don't want to say dangers, but I guess there is some danger, but it's less about the dangers of steroid use for women, but more about realistic expectations and things that women need to be aware of.
Yeah, absolutely. And kind of just giving like, and this is not, we're not basing this episode off of saying, like, oh, boo steroids, never take them and we don't support that. Like, I think we're just trying to create a little bit more awareness around like think long term before you do something like
Yeah.
this. And again, if it's something you choose to do, that is totally fine, to each their own. But I think as coaches, we see a lot of younger athletes even just pushing drugs so early on in their career. And it's like we were talking before we started this episode. And, like at the end of the day, for most people, this is a hobby, right? Like for most athletes, this is not what makes you money. So it's like, at what cost, right? If, for a hobby, like, is it really worth it to viralize yourself and then 10 years down the line, look back and regret it? Like, because the viralization is forever, but the gains are temporary, right? So we're just trying to spread awareness by this episode. We're not talking negatively on anybody or
Hmm.
anybody's actions, just basically just spreading awareness and just giving you guys some good things to think about.
Look, it's a choice, right? Everything in life is a choice, and you have the full ability. Here's the best part about most bodybuilding organizations. It's the Wild West. You can do what you want, right? There really aren't a ton of rules along with it. So there's no looking down on anyone for doing anything. I mean, I'm far from natural. I've done, a good amount of things, not at a high dosage, but different compounds over my life. Um, some I was probably not well as informed as I probably should have initially with it. But nothing to the point of like abuse or anything like that, right? And so I'm not disparaging anyone for making choices or decisions. That's not it. It's more so people that come into it just blind and blind trust. Please just don't blindly trust your coach. Please don't blindly trust your friends or the person at your gym. Do your own research on top of it and look at it from different perspectives. Because again, this is one of those nuanced things where, just like we were talking about in the podcast on Sunday, there's like the evidence based approach and there's a science based approach. And it's like people are on these both sides of camps, right? And nothing is really ever black and white, especially when it comes to this stuff and when it comes to side effects. Some people can experience high side effects at low dosage. Some people can experience almost no side effects at high dosages when it comes to females. Um, and again, it's variable between people, but knowing what it is and knowing what you're getting into, I think is incredibly important.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and really the real reason I like talking about it is because I feel like the sport speaks for itself. We're noticing changes in the sport. There is a new division this year. That's not a coincidence from what we've seen from the female divisions in the sport recently. Likewise, bikini was a new division at one point. That was a response to something prior to that. And so there's been a few things come out in the last week that are just kind of like they've been on my mind. Our friend who's a coach named Dylan made a post about an 18-year-old girl who was
Mhm.
on 5 or 6 different compounds as a new lifter, a new competitor.
Heavy antiestrogens, heavy diuretic use.
Yeah, completely unnecessary. And I mean, not even optimal, but beyond that point. Because I work with enhanced athletes, and Evan, obviously, we're familiar with this stuff. But when you see stuff that wild, you just go, like, what is this person doing? It's almost like they're just throwing everything that they've ever heard of at someone to
Yeah.
just to see what works. And then if you guys haven't seen her, go check her out. Her views are crazy. Her name's Hannah Hussein, and she posted a video maybe a couple weeks ago, which I didn't see until recently, about the dangers of anabolic steroid use for women or something about that. She's been involved in bodybuilding for about 10 years. I think she's a female bodybuilder actually,
Yes.
but got into the sport very blindly. But she's not blaming anybody. She's just putting out information. She was very uninformed when she started. She was obsessed with putting on muscle, which she did. She's got her pro card. She's done all these things, but she's just so open and talking freely and answering. And it's like,
Mhm.
man, this is so refreshing. She talks about the voice change. She talks about her clitoris. She talks about body hair.
Hair
She talks,
loss,
huh?
hair loss, acne,
All of it.
depression.
All of it. She talks about substances she was on, talks about drug cycles, talks about the response, talks about what a good coach did for her. You
Hmm.
know, she's been through a lot of stuff. And so it's just and it just reminds me of there's so little of that right now. And as a coach who's been in the sport for 15 years, very heavily in the bikini world for the last decade, countless pro cards, a lot of Olympians, done very well. There has been a big shift in what I see and hear backstage.
No, that
There,
absolutely has been.
yeah,
Yeah.
and so I don't want to say it's a problem because it's an individual sport. You do what's right for you. It's been a problem for me. I don't enjoy that side of it, and so I've been really happy that the fit model has been introduced.
Mhm.
And I'm hoping they do something similar for the men
Yeah.
because
And
Jesus Christ, these men's physique. Did you see the two guys that were fighting for the title at the Texas Pro in men's physique? Good
no.
Lord. Like
Oh,
it,
the pros.
the
Yeah.
like guys disappear for a couple months and come back and look completely different. They get huge.
Hmm.
So anyway, just like seeing this, and I'm like, and I think you got to understand that from my perspective, a lot of the people that are getting into the sport, that's what they look at. If they want to do men's physique, they go, "Oh, who's at pro men's physique?" And they look at that and they go, "It's like when Evan, when you and I first thought about doing a show, who do we look at? Dorian Yates, Ronnie Coleman,
Hmm.
Jay Cutler. Like that was I was like, oh, I'll never do that. I
And
think
that's
that's
why I didn't
happening.
compete initially, because I thought that's what you had to be like.
Right. And
Yeah.
so are girls getting into the sport and looking at XYZ Bikini Pro and going, oh, no, I can't do that. Right. Lexi, I don't know. What's your
Yeah,
opinion? That's how
I
you got into the sport, right?
trying to think, how did I? Yeah, but I feel like whenever I got into the sport, though, I was so far removed from like I didn't even really know who was competing, so I didn't really have anybody I was looking at. Like I didn't know who Ashley Kay was at the time or anything like that. So for me, it wasn't really that, but like I feel like with my clients and my athletes, I feel like there is kind of a bit of a divide because I've had some this past year I've had some athletes particularly like moms tell me they're like, oh my God, like I love the fit model look. I'm so glad that it was introduced because like I just don't like the look of like bikini right now, right? And like I think it's very dependent on the person and if they like that look for of bikini right now and if they don't, some people do like a little bit more of that muscle, some people don't. And I remember it was really interesting because earlier this year when Fit Model was introduced, I remember putting two pictures side by side. I think it was one of like Laura Lee, one of like the Ashley K fit model pose that they used at the beginning of the year. And I was just asking like my mom, I was like, mom, I just curious. There's no right answer. I was like, which look do you like better? Right. She's not a bodybuilder. I just was curious. And she was like, oh, I love the fit model look. Like, so I think there's a divide still, but I think some females do still like that muscular bikini look. But I do feel like a lot of people
Well, first things first, I love the bikini division. I still love the bikini look, and I still have a lot
Hmm.
of athletes that I am certain are going to go pro and go fight for the Olympia. I just think there's a right way to do it. I
yeah.
think
Yeah.
that if you're going to use as a female PEDs, slower is better.
Hmm.
And I
Yeah.
see girls like they'll miss their pro card, and then 6 months later, their voice is 3 octaves lower, their jaw is wider than mine, and they turn pro. And I'm like, okay, you did that in 6 months. You didn't
Yeah.
have to do that in 6 months. It could have been over the course of
Yeah.
several years, and you could have avoided some of the
Yep.
stuff that goes negatively.
Absolutely. And you've talked about it before too, Paul. You've used the term summits fever, right? Like where you have athletes that get
Mhm.
so close, like they miss their pro card by one, or they're just so close. And like when you are in the thick of it, like mindset wise, and I think that's why it's so helpful to have a coach or a mentor or somebody to kind of bounce ideas off of, because a lot of times you're not in the right headspace to make good decisions, right? Like when you're so close, you may make a decision that's out of sheer emotion that you regret later down the line, right? So I think that has a lot to do with it with girls that get really close. They kind of get that summits fever of like, all right, I'm already
Yep.
this close. Like they're not, thinking clearly. They're like, I'll just do whatever it takes. They do it. And maybe it does get them the pro card. And I don't know, maybe they don't regret, the PED usage, but I don't know. I think it's the summit fever really gets a
And
lot.
it's to me, I don't think all of them regret it, and it doesn't matter if they do or don't. What I'm getting the feedback I get from athletes is when they go and they're around the pros, they're shocked at the voices. They're shocked at the faces because social media, everyone Facetunes and does this stuff. And then when you see them in person, you're like, oh, um, so it's more about the perception. And, I actually brought it up to a promoter a while back who had a bikini pro speaking to a group of new competitors whose voice was deeper than mine. And I was like, that's just not a good look, man. Like, I understand that that's a good athlete and that's a good, person, but for a lot of people, this is their first, you know, view of the
Yeah.
sport. And immediately I have clients, they'll go to these seminars and they'll message me after and be like, I don't want that.
Yep.
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to bring up too, talking about like especially the new fit model division and a lot of the posts I see coming up, and I made a post a few weeks ago about like the fit model division, and there's a lot of like especially like bikini girls, NPC bikini girls that are just shitting on the division. What I want you guys to understand with this is your division has been shit on by girls that are bigger, the bodybuilders, the wellness, the figure. When bikini first came on, it was completely shit on.
I hated
So
it when it came out.
everyone did. So
I have a picture on
remember,
my phone from the first show I went to. It was a joke. It was girls in bikinis from the beach.
yeah, and that's like, and I have a lot of girls commenting saying like this girl won and she never even posted anything about working out. You're gonna have a little bit of that initially here with this division. You're gonna have genetic freaks, and when muscle is not the primary focus in this, and a lot of the girls commenting on this would, again, I just laugh. I'm like, you would do better in fit model, right? Like, they probably would physique wise, but there's gonna be a little bit of that to begin with, but it also is giving an avenue for a sport for new people. And if you want your division and you want the sport to continue, this is part of it, people. It's part of it. It's progressing. Or you can go to shows and have poorly run shows because promoters don't make any money there in 5 years. Which do you want? Which do you prefer? So think about that type
This
of
is
stuff.
where I think not a lot of people realize that before bikini and men's physique were introduced, bodybuilding shows were in high schools.
Yep.
The shows were few and far between. The quality of the production wasn't as good. The amount of money it's been infused into the sport because of these new divisions has allowed the sport to progress and explode in a way that's been awesome. I mean, I still remember
Absolutely.
every show I ever went to was at some random high school
Yeah.
and terrible lighting. The picture sucked. And obviously technology's come a long way, but it's almost rare now that you go to a show that doesn't have great lighting, some kind of great, videographer,
I mean,
production
I,
company.
I have one of my clients got third at his an OCB show, and he's a pro men's physique OCB guy. And there was like 30 something competitors at this show, a really big pro show, and we can't get or find a decent picture from that show.
Right.
And they
No.
had a lot of competitors. You can't find a decent picture, not a
No, I
single
had
one.
that issue with I had that issue with a client too. And she actually I think even bought her pictures when she turned pro and got an OCB show, and like they didn't even get like still shots of her
No.
or yeah. And I think like I remember earlier this year when Fit Model was announced, there were some people that were like, oh, this is a way for them to make more money. But it's also like, guys, this is a business. And like you said, Paul, I mean, if we want to have well-run shows, that give back to the athletes where the lighting is great, the venue is awesome, the experience is great, like this industry, they have to make money somewhere. You know what I mean? So I feel like more people are kind of realizing the whole, oh, they're just trying to make money. That's kind of a silly, way to look at it because like it is a business. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, Mercedes just wants to make money off their cars. Yes. You just want to make money
Yeah, I
working.
can't believe
Yes.
Mercedes
Like,
introduced a C class for 30,000.
there you go. Yeah. It's a perfect example.
Um,
Why did
well, and to be
BMW introduce
fair,
a 3 Series?
so for anyone that before we get into like the dangers and side effects of steroids for women, and I want to talk about some things that aren't talked about as much. We all know the big ones, but there are some things that I noticed that it's been hard for me to kind of put into words, but it's becoming more clear now. I've talked to some people. Is Where was I going? I was going to talk about the sport a little bit. Um, I lost my train of thought. Oh, the numbers. Um, is the NPC and makes their money as the governing organization. So if you go sign up for a show and you're competing in Tampa, to compete in that show, you have to get an NPC card. The promoter sanctions the event. The promoter does not get any of that money for your NPC card. They only get paid if you enter the show and you enter the classes. So yes, the shows only happen if people show up and compete. And so when we saw the bikini numbers, I think we literally documented the Clash basically got run out of business because the bikini division shrank so much and the cost of the venues went up. So we're starting to see this return. I actually went to a high school show not too long ago. We're starting to see the return of like, okay, if the sport's going to shrink, bikini numbers and men's physique numbers are way down, then we might be seeing some serious changes. I think not yet, because the fit model division at the NPC level has been strangely small compared to like the national shows, because people want their pro cards. But I think what's going to start happening over the course of the rest of this year and then early next year is a lot of those girls that are trying bikini, they're going to realize like, okay, so I think what we're seeing is we're going to keep the girls in the sport longer. We're going to keep newer people interested in the sport. And you might even have some girls, and I'm sure you will, that go do fit model and outgrow it rather quickly, and bang, they've got a fun division to do in bikini. And
Yeah.
I'm working on a really cool presentation, guys. And what I'm working on is like looking up the history of bikini, comparing it to all the current fit model pros. It's not fit model. It's goddamn bikini. It's literally the same MFN division. Go look right now at Courtney King from 2016 or Angelica Teixeira from 2017.
Yeah, it's those years bikini. That's what before it got over the top extreme. That's what it was. Yeah.
I pulled up those girls' pictures for my presentation, and I was like, oh my God, if they walked out on stage right now at a fit model show, they would fit right in.
And what I want people to understand too is stop judging shows off the pictures you see. Please
Yeah.
stop it.
Oh yeah, let's
Stop
talk
it.
about the girl in Texas.
Yeah,
Um,
because
I got
that like
so many
look at
messages.
I
oh
did
my
too.
gosh.
I
I'm
did
like, do
too.
you that goes, no, she's not
Well,
bikini. I know.
first off, I want to just bring it up. Like, guys, consider too, like, if you were an athlete that won an overall like that, like, how would you feel? Like, I don't think a lot of people are thinking about this. Like, how would you feel if people were commenting, seeing that you won the overall and saying, oh my God, this is not fit model. This is too much muscle. Like, those may be
Yep.
your thoughts, but like, think about the athlete. That kind of just, in my opinion, I felt really bad for the athlete because it's like she won the overall. The judges picked her that day. She was clearly what they thought was most in alignment with the criteria. And then people are going and just like commenting that stuff. Like I would just feel so upset if I were her. So like, I don't know. I just had to bring that up. But for those of you that don't know what we're talking about, there was at not Republic of Texas, the Texas Pro
Texas Pro.
AM show this weekend, the fit model overall winner. They on the NBC News Online website, they posted like her overall picture, and it was kind of from like an angle, but the picture quality was like really like a harsh lighting, right? So it made her look like she had a lot of muscle. And a lot of people were commenting saying, "Oh, this is not fit model. This division is already." Going against what they want to see. But we all kind of talked about this. And if you watch the videos, it's a little bit clearer that she has muscle, but it wasn't as extreme as the picture made it look like. And but like to what Evan was saying, you truly cannot judge what you see on like through a picture, even a video. Sometimes
Even a video.
you have to be there in person, because I looked at the same girl's Instagram, and like you can kind of scroll through, and like she's not overly muscular. I mean, she's got a good
Yeah.
muscle, but like
Yeah.
you can tell it's not bikini level of muscle. So it's like you have to be careful before you see a picture to jump to conclusions. And
Well,
like
and the numbers for that show
And
are real small for fit
they
they
model.
weren't.
were
There
very
wasn't a lot.
small.
And what's
There was one in, I think, class A. There was like two in another class, and then there was another class with like 4 or 5. Like there was maybe
yeah,
8 total. Don't
maybe 8 or 9
but
girls total in the show.
yeah.
And they have to pick a winner, people. You have to understand that too, right? And what's funny, like so you're talking about those comments. Right under those comments were people being like, "Well, go look at her page. There's not a single fitness thing on her page. She doesn't even care about training." I'm like so some people are saying she has too much muscle. Some people are saying she doesn't take training seriously. My first thought when I saw the video was like, "Oh wow, they went a little softer this show." That's the first thing that went in my mind when I saw the video, and to see everyone else say she had all this muscle, I'm like, "Oh wow." And here's another
Yeah,
thing
no, there
too
was
is
just that I kept getting screenshots of that one picture they
the one
posted. It was like
picture.
maybe a Gilco picture looking up at her, and her
Hmm.
Yeah.
Her
shoulder looked
shoulders look crazy.
massive.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, you see that. And I think right now, a lot of people are hypersensitive because it's new and they want to make sure the criteria is being upheld. And I'll say what I say to everybody. I never judge anything unless I'm at the show.
No. I mean,
Yes.
Paul, like we were looking at some of the Gilco videos of the fit model winners from, or I was from Universe, and I saw their level of conditioning there, and I'm like, they don't look nearly as conditioned as they looked in person
Right.
at that show. Not nearly as conditioned as they did. They didn't. I thought they looked considerably softer in the video than they do on other stuff. So you cannot judge this stuff, people. It is impossible to do it.
Well, I've had people like at shows that I've done, people that will like just take pictures on their phone, like of when I'm on stage. And
Hmm.
usually those are pictures, maybe like it could be a little grainy, but I'm always like, whoa, damn. Like it makes me look like I have way more muscle because it's just something with the lighting of the iPhone. So yeah, you just have to be very careful with what you see on social media and that in that picture in particular that we're talking about. It was just the lighting was, was really good and kind of harsh, and then it was the angle, and I could see where it looked like she had a lot of muscle, but like again, I just think about it from the standpoint of like she just won an overall, and then she has to deal with people commenting so negatively. Like that just like think before you post, you know?
Didn't you, do we know her name so we can give her a shout out?
Her name is Emma. Oh, wait. Let me look. I
No.
don't want
And
to.
her, and did I hear a rumor that like she's associated with Wolfpack bags or
Yeah,
something?
I told you that. I believe she's the daughter of the owner of Wolfpack. Yeah, Emma Henderson.
Congrats to you, Emma, by the way.
Good to
Congrats.
you. Good on you, Emma. And don't
Um,
listen to the haters out there. Just keep doing you.
well, and I'll
And
say this. It's funny how different I've noticed, going from state to state, how different the people are quick to adapt or adopt a new sport, a new division. Texas people love
There,
bodybuilding.
yeah,
there were so many
They
male
are like
bodybuilders at
more
that show.
hardcore than most states, and I
Yeah.
think they're going to be the slowest to adapt.
Yeah. They had
yeah.
more open bodybuilders in the NPC show than any other show outside of a pro qualifier. It's a crazy amount.
Yeah, so it's a state of bodybuilders, and that comes down to the women too. The women they're trained hard. I think there's I don't know. I didn't look. I bet there's more wellness than there were fit model, which
Probably.
wouldn't happen in some places, but Texas women love to train. So shout out to y'all. So I think, it's going to take a little while for it to level out. And I think honestly, like, man, there's a lot of women's divisions right now. Like it's,
Yeah.
fit model, bikini, wellness, figure, physique,
I think
Fitness,
bodybuilding, and
bodybuilding.
the fitness, which is basically just now a pro division at this point. I don't even see amateurs ever.
Yeah, my prediction is that eventually within the next year or two, we're going to see a couple of those divisions like get sandwiched into one, or we're not going to see fitness anymore. I know we've talked about it before on here. Like fitness is a really cool division, but it's also like it's just so hard for a lot of people to achieve because it's not just the physique. It's like you have to have that athleticism to be able to like flip around and like let's be honest, like not a lot of people can do that, right? So I feel like we're going to see like some of those divisions get
Listen,
canceled.
I like if
It's
I
it,
was involved in that, I think the figure and the women's physique divisions, if you just added a couple poses to figure, like a double bicep pose and a side chest pose, those girls are jacked. So maybe I don't know. I don't know.
I agree. It's look, there's definitely differences in the divisions, and you can look at a women's bodybuilder, they look a certain way. You can look at a women's physique, they look a certain way. You look at a figure, they look a certain way. They do look different. They absolutely
Yeah.
do. But it's how many divisions do you want for all of that, right?
Well, you can't have 24 people showing up for a national show and giving out 12 pro cards.
Right.
No. They just,
I mean,
if they
and
want to do it,
maybe
it
I'm
needs to
wrong
be
with
just
that
way less
number.
pro cards. Just needs to be way less pro cards. Same with fitness. I mean, I know a girl, like, no hate on her. I mean, she's a very good athlete. She decided she wanted to do bodybuilding and she turned pro in fitness in I think under a year, and I think she made an Olympia stage with under 2 years.
Hmm.
Just because there's not many people that do it, right? There's not, and not saying, hey, I mean, she's a very good athlete, but and to me, the fitness division, while it's really impressive, it is like the massive outlier to every other part of bodybuilding,
Yeah.
like the massive outlier. It just doesn't make sense mixed in with everything else the way the sport is. I don't think so, at least. But it's all we're also talking about something that takes up maybe like, you know, 1% of the season, the division. It's the smallest part of it for sure.
Yeah, it's been a little bit shocking for me to go to shows this year and just see like there's literally like sometimes five or six total in figure. It's
Yeah.
it's
Sometimes or
I think it's
less.
the division right now that's had the biggest maybe negative impact. And I don't know if that's a combination of the bikini girls getting a little more muscular and then Sid retiring, who was kind of like the face of that division with I think 8 Olympia titles. Who I think Sid kept the division obtainable, and it's going to become a little bit freakier now.
And talking about like back to our original subject, like the PEDs and things like that with it, like you looked at Sid, she had muscle, she had beautiful flow, but she also looked healthy and her physique looked very clean, very clean. Like you look at some of the other girls up there, and it's like, no offense, again, do whatever you want, right? It doesn't look like that. When you run high androgens for an extended amount of time, it does make you harsher. It makes the
So let's
skin
talk
harsher,
about
the
what,
face
because that's
harsher,
exactly what I was going to bring up, Evan. You nailed exactly what I see.
and bikini too coming.
Well, just from women that get on stuff. Because when you don't see someone for 3 months or 6 months and then you see them, there has been many times in the last couple of years where I have seen a former client of mine who, let's just say they were natural, and then I see them and I'm shocked at the visible change to their face.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
the
Guys,
aging,
the,
I've even asked you guys probably like, what is it about male hormones that ages women's faces so rapidly? We could talk about the other stuff, but that's not as tangible. You can't quantify that. It's like a
Mhm.
look.
You can't, and it's in when Paul's talking about girls that started natural and go away for a little bit and come back not these girls, I can promise you that the visual changes that we see, it's not from 5-10 milligrams of Anavar.
I've
It's
had
not.
girls
They're
on
going
Anavar for
like 10
years
toes
that
down
I've had
with this
girls on
stuff.
Anavar for years. You would never know and they took
No,
anything. Nothing has ever changed. And the
no.
progression is more natural. And I'm not calling it that, but I'm saying like it's a
Mhm.
steady progression, but we're also coming off and going on. But I think the
Yeah,
people that are combining testosterone with Anavar, with, now they're
Winstrol
cutting,
with
they're on some Winstrol, and now they're pulling out their estrogen, stuff. It's like it just hardens them.
I want people to think about it like this. When you're taking like anabolics made for men for the vast majority of it. Says testosterone and androgenics are a manly trait. So when you start taking those things and then you start removing what makes a female, which is higher estrogen levels, you're raising male hormones and lowering your female hormones. What do you think is going to happen with this? What do you think is going to happen?
Well, they
It's
all want the muscle, right? And that's obviously a visible side effect, and that looks amazing. We can hear the voice. And what I liked about this Hannah was she said she didn't realize her voice was changing because
that's
she just felt like she had to clear her throat all the time, right? Like, so
all
you
the
heard
time.
that?
yeah, and that's what I was going to bring up because like that's the biggest thing like I notice with athletes and again like we're not trying to shit on anybody like literally this
No,
is an observation that
no.
sometimes I notice with people that like I've been friends or acquaintance with in this industry for a while and it's like sometimes I'll hear them and or I'll see a video they post on Instagram and it's like I'll hear it and I'll think gosh I feel like their voice is sounding a little bit deeper but I kind of it's like you kind of question you're like am I just hearing things and then you can go back and find maybe a video that they posted from like 2 years ago. And then you kind of put both videos side by side and you listen to it and you're like, whoa, like there is a distinct difference. But it happens so slowly over time and incrementally where it's like you just kind of get very desensitized to it as it happens. And that's where it's kind of like you start to second guess, am I just imagining things like when you're observing other people's voice changes? And I think that's what happens with athletes too, is it's like it happens so slowly and it's like the same concept of we could kind of compare it to like physique changes, right? Like if you're in a
Very
slow
similar.
progressive fat loss phase, right? Week to week, you're going to be changing a little bit, but you don't always see those changes. And then it's like, you know, your coach tells you to put that picture from 6 months ago up to where you're at now, and you look at it and you're like, oh, damn, I've changed a lot, right? It's the same concept for the voice changes. And that's the biggest thing I observe, like, or I've observed over the past years with, you know, certain athletes of just being like, wow, you know, wow, their voice sounds a lot deeper. But then I like kind of second guess. I'm like, am I just imagining things? And then I go back and I, you know, find stuff from years ago and I'm like, yep, it's definitely a dramatic change.
Yeah, it is. And again, it's if you want to do this to build the physique of your dreams, to reach your dreams, I support you 110% with that. Like, but be aware of this is not what could happen, but what's probably going to happen to a
Yeah.
certain degree. Look, 10 milligrams of Anavar, you run it a little bit, you take time off. The likelihood of that happening for the vast majority of people is quite low. Can it happen? Yes, it can. Is it quite low? Yes, it's quite low. But it's load over time. This is what people need to know. You can take, oh, it's just 10 milligrams of Anavar. Well, I just took it for 32 straight weeks. You're going to have
Well,
some
what I've
problems.
come
You're
across
going to have
quite a
some
bit, Evan,
problems.
is people will disclose the Anavar usage, but then later on they'll disclose like, oh, well, I'm also on HRT. Like,
Mhm.
oh,
Yeah.
Well,
so
how
you
much
are
HRT?
taking testosterone and Anavar. So
And
now
how
your
much
androgenic
HRT?
load is much higher. And what I liked about you know, I've been watching some of these videos, the educational stuff that some of the creators are putting out now, and it's like, you know, what's the minimum dosage for a female that wants to transition to a male? It's pretty low.
Mhm.
And so like you're basically taking what someone that wants to transition into a man would take to get the facial
Paul,
and the voice changes.
Paul, I have some females I work with that go to some of these clinics. That's why clinics are tough to even recommend just in
Right.
general these days, is they'll go and it'll be like a 25-year-old girl and just like, oh, I need to be on TRT because my testosterone is so low, it's in the gutter. And yeah, their testosterone is low and in the gutter. They send me their blood work. I'm like, your test is in the gutter. And these doctors will put them on 12, 14 milligrams a week of testosterone. I'm like, that's not TRT. You're just running tests. And I get that from guys all the time too. It's like, oh, I'm on TRT. Okay, well, how much are you taking a week? 250 milligrams. I'm like, no, that's just a low dose of gear. Like, that's not, you're not replacing. You are way over replacement. So just be honest with yourself. That's all we're saying is don't lie to yourself and say that I'm doing this. That's why words matter, people. Like, words matter.
Or,
HRT
you
is
know,
replacing what's missing.
advocate exactly for yourself. If you're talking to a coach or talking to a clinic,
Yes.
explain where you draw the line in the sand. Yes, I'd like to add some muscle. No, I do not want to have any visible or, you know, other signs of virilization. And I'll be honest, you know, I was a pretty late adopter when it came to, you know, working with the performance enhancing side of the sport. I am a huge fan of oxandrolone. Huge. I feel like it should be available over the counter because of how positive it is. But I understand why it's not. But I also have seen the other side of that equation where, like, yeah, 5 or 10 is good, but I have girls come to me that are on 35, and I'm
20,
like,
25,
whoa.
35.
Yeah. And I think that's something else to consider with the like the Anavar, the oxandrolone, is certain people like if they started and let's say their sex hormones are already like in the gutter, that can also, I mean, it like you said, Paul, Anavar can be great for certain people, but if somebody starts it and their sex hormones are already like zero, it can cause some just longer term detriments with like making them a little bit more susceptible to virilization and just causing the sex hormones to be deeper in the gutter afterwards. And then you have to
I feel like that's causing the majority of the problems for competitors is going, it's 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 April. I just got second in my class. Okay, I want to win my pro card by October. You know, why not next April? I don't know. You know, look at this sport as, I don't know, document the whole process. You know, I think competitors get so, you know, you get so much attention in prep.
Mhm.
Yeah, and you know what? Now that you bring that up, like that, I think that's part of it. Is it's like I think we talked a little bit about this past weekend at our seminar, but it unfortunately like that is the reality of it, and I can speak to that 100%. Like when you're in prep and you're documenting, oh, I'm X weeks out, or I'm in prep, like your views on YouTube go up, your likes go up, like, and there is like that is an invigorating feeling. I think everybody likes that, and then it's like when you're not in prep though, it's like views are slashed in half, like, and I think that's maybe some competitors kind of get addicted to that feeling, and that could be part of why they do reach for this like quicker, faster success and reach towards the PEDs. Because I mean, it can be kind of addicting when you're getting all that attention and all the likes and all the views, and like it's a constant dopamine hit, you know?
Yeah, even Chris
Yes.
Bumstead. Every now and then I'll go to his channel and just watch one of his like off-season workout videos. Not nearly the views of his like 6 week
No.
out chest session where he's just fully feathered and striated. So yeah, but that's a part of the process that's super valuable, and it's going to keep you in the sport longer and potentially from having some health risks. Now, Hannah, um, in her videos, doesn't really have regrets, and that's why I like her videos. And she's also not selling anything, and she's not demonizing anything.
No.
She's talking about her experiences from the perspective of she wants to assist women who are just getting started in this journey or they're interested. You know, she talks a lot about the TikTok generation where they're like, "Oh, I'm on this dose of this and this dose of this and I'm not seeing any negatives." And she's like, "Yet.
Mhm.
It's 10 out of 10 you are going to be seeing negatives." And it's almost at this point, from her perspective, it's being like glorified, like
Yeah.
because it used to be, you know, Evan, when we were young, you didn't talk about it.
No,
You might
no,
even
no,
have
no, no,
your
no.
best friend be on something and he wouldn't even tell you.
Absolutely not.
Now people are just out here talking about like, this is my dosage, this is my cycle, this is my stack, and it's like that gets people attention. They talk about it more.
Yeah,
And
I do. Oh, go ahead, Evan.
I think it's another thing she brings up too, which is very rampant in the coaching industry with that. And she said, the better you look, the more attention you're going to get from coaches. And if you look good working with a coach, it looks good for the coach. And if you mix that with telling a coach, I'll do what it takes to be the best, she goes, there's no shock there's so many deaths in bodybuilding. So I want you to kind of equate all those things together. If you look good, you make the coach look good. You mix that with, I'll do whatever it takes. And you tell someone that he's going to do whatever, or he or she's going to do whatever it takes, a lot of them, to make you look as good as you possibly ever could to get them more business. You turn into a glorified racehorse or a show pony for a
So
lot.
the so speaking of deaths, the young lady that went to the Arnold and died, and she
Yeah.
was pretty openly a steroid user, maybe abuser.
Yeah,
There's never been
yeah.
a lot of follow up on that, correct? Like
No.
it's not.
So,
No.
yeah, so for those that don't know what we're talking about, there was a young lady this past Arnold, so this past March that she wasn't competing at the Arnold. There were some people that thought that she didn't compete at the Arnold. She was, I just think, there, and she passed away. And yeah, I do think that what they had concluded is that there was like it was from dehydration. I do think that there was a little bit more to the story though than what meets the eye, because I think everybody, I mean, I do think obviously whatever she was taking compound wise played a role, but I did hear she was also really sick and vomiting, and you know that'll obviously also dehydrate you, so I think that probably pushed things over the edge. So yeah, but we didn't really hear too much after that. But I will say I do remember her coach did put something out about how he had been, I guess, unaware that she was taking a lot of things that he did not condone. So that was all the information that ended up coming out.
Yeah.
And there's another thing Hannah talks about that I think is really super important. We can touch this an hour later with it. Is she said there's one thing she refuses to ever do and touch again, and this piggybacks off that conversation too, and it's diuretic use.
Yeah.
And I can tell you for a lot of females, especially if they teeter on eating disorders and they have toyed with diuretics in the past, they see that water comes off of them, and if they are having a bad body image day, it's a tool that people will use. They don't talk about it. I hear about it. And I know some people personally that have opened up to me about that, but they will use these heavy diuretics when they have body image issues. And you mix that with doing, drinking or dehydrating yourself on top of that. And if you're taking other compounds, the kidneys are not going to be pleasant with that. Um, to me personally, there are certain things that can change you forever, like anabolics can, but there's certain things that can put you in an earlier grave faster than anything else, and that's going to be diuretics and overuse of anti-estrogens like Nolvadex and Arimidex, which will play for men and women havoc on your psyche. Those two things, which are not anabolic compounds, can cause more damage than anything else. And again, talking about one thing she says in there too, is she says, I refuse to do it. And one of the coaches she was working with in the past asked, and we're talking about the Hannah, the girl from YouTube right now, not the young lady that passed. But she said that a coach said, you need to do these diuretics for this show because she had passed out backstage previously doing them. Said, you need to do these. She said, I'm not doing them. And the coach said, okay, I'm not going to work with you anymore. If a coach
Her.
demands you do something,
Good
Yeah,
for her.
that's not, yeah, you like you said earlier, Paul, like as an athlete, guys, you have to advocate for yourself. I think it's hard too when you have maybe some, really well-known coaches that work with these really high-level athletes that you look up to and you admire. And let's say you start working with that coach and then they just tell you, do this is what it takes, you'll be fine. You kind of start to go, in your mind, you're like, all right, well, so and so must do this. They're coached by this coach, right? So I think that leads to a little bit of people just kind of blindly accepting, well, this coach is telling me to do this. It must be fine, right? Because they have a ton of other athletes that must be doing it too. But like you have to advocate for yourself. I think there's a lot to be said for trusting your gut instinct, and staying true to yourself and just advocating for yourself, even if it is, somebody who you think you trust telling you to do something. You just have to advocate and ask questions too.
yeah. And there's a lot of high level coaches in this sport. Well, I'm going to talk specifically about bikini division. There's a lot of well known coaches in this sport, yet have a lot of success that are not like this. They do not push things at all. Some of them you'd be shocked to know don't even discuss it with their athletes. Or if they do, it's very, very low amounts. Then there's other coaches in this industry that are pretty well known that if you see what they put people on, you'll just, number one, 90% of people won't understand it because it's so many different compounds and
Oh, I had to
it's
show
stuff
you a
that you've
list
probably
of,
never heard of. Yeah.
I had a client who was previously with a well-known coach, and she failed miserably on the national stage. And when I spoke to her, I said, well, what was your peak? Like, what was your, she sent me a drug cycle that there were 2 or 3 compounds on there out of 7 or 8. I didn't even know what they were. I had to look them up. And they were, remember, Evan, it was like multiple anti-estrogens.
Multiple antiestrogens,
And you're
and then
like,
just
what's the point of taking this if you're already taking this? Like, it's just someone that,
Nolvadex, Arimidex, and Letrozole on top of it. It's like, oh, so in case these don't manage estrogen, what is something to block out every
and
estrogen that
she was
receptor in
a
your entire body?
bloated mess on show day where a couple weeks out, she looked incredible. And so it's a situation where more is not better. And I don't know. I feel like sometimes they're just throwing a bunch of spaghetti at the wall and seeing what sticks. They don't actually have a plan.
Right.
Um,
The
so
thing
yeah,
to consider with all of this is, and this goes for everything, people, there are no free rides in life. Nothing has only benefits with zero possible drawbacks. Nothing. Nothing. And in the vast majority of things, the more you do of something that has side effects, the more likelihood you are to open you up to those side effects, right? If someone says, oh, it's completely safe, there's no side effects, run for the hills because there's a side effect for everything. It may be minor, it may be not something that matters to you, but there's a side effect for it,
Mhm.
for anything.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm going back to kind of, I think I said it before, like at the end of the day, for most people who are in this sport, it is a hobby. Like, is it, you know what I mean? Like, is it really worth these long-term, forever repercussions for a hobby, right? Like something that's not even making you money? Because let's be realistic, for the vast majority of competitors, like you're not making money from this sport. Like you're doing it for fun. You're doing it as a hobby, right? Is it really worth it to go to those extremes? Again, I'm not like putting anybody down who does go to those extremes, but you just have to kind of put it in that limelight too.
well, and I don't. I think, gosh, I mean, any division. When you look at the Olympia champion, drugs is not what made them the champion.
Nope.
Drugs is not what made them the champion. So it's like I get it if you're chasing that if you're in that division and you're trying to chase somebody who has better genetics, more time in the gym, better structure, what do you got to do? Okay, maybe you can out drug them, out train them, but I think that's a short shortens your career. Um,
Yeah.
and honestly, I've had trouble in the past pushing people that I knew didn't have the potential. Like
Yeah.
I've had some people that were incredibly hard workers and they're still just going to get last. They just don't have the structure. They don't have the muscle insertions. They don't have the look. There is such an element to this sport that is like, I heard this once. I don't know if it's true anymore. It was basically like, listen, if you can't walk into an NPC show and win an overall, you don't even need to be doing drugs. You need to be, at that level. Um, and to a degree, I think part of that's true. I mean, if you look at someone like Phil Heath, who 1 or 2 years into just bodybuilding at all was already turning pro, winning pro shows, and like
Keon
his
Pearson,
genetics,
another great example of that.
huh?
Keon Pearson, another great example of that.
Keon Pearson, yeah, or Aaron Stern. I mean,
Yeah.
my favorite story is Aaron Stern like going to Kmart, buying a one-piece suit, dying it the night before, and winning the overall at nationals with hundreds of
Mhm.
competitors. Buying press-on nails, and she was a track athlete, but just the genetics of the gods. Meanwhile, these other girls were probably doing everything in their power, gym, drugs, blah blah, blah. And they're just like, who is this Adonis that just walked in the show?
Mhm.
Because I think she won like some small show in like Lakeland, and then went to nationals, won
Yeah.
the overall, and then
Yep.
I think her second next show was like the Arnold or something. So
Yeah, it
like,
was crazy.
I'm forgetting the specifics, but like, and I was putting this presentation together. A lot of people might not remember this, but Laura Lee got second at her Olympia debut. She then switched to a coach and she went backwards for a while. She actually went to the next Arnold and got like sixth, and next Olympia dropped. So like it took her a while to find her bearing, but she was so good that if she'd have just stayed the course, she was second at her Olympia debut. And then I think some coaches got involved and kind of threw her off her routine because they wanted to put their input on it. But when you see greatness, it doesn't take long for it to get to the top. So yeah, you can't buy your way or drug your way to the top of the sport.
Yeah, and again, not saying that, you have to have that level of genetics to do drugs. Like, not saying that either. Again, that's a personal decision, right? When it comes to that sort of thing. But I think it's important when you get into this to set limits kind of on yourself on what you're willing to accept and what you're not willing to accept. And and do your best to try to stick with those, because the longer you're in the deep end of the pool, the more things are going to be more acceptable to you. That's why another reason I'm happy for the fit model division is going to be there, right? Because it's going to be more girls that are on either nothing or the very low end of the anabolic scale of things. Their voices aren't going to change, the look's not going to change, they're going to remain feminine. And so there's going to be more in that sport that the people that are getting into it can be like, oh, I have a place here. I don't have to go to all the way over here to this place.
Just look at the top five of the Olympia from 2016,
Yep.
2017. Angelica Teixeira, Laura Lee, Courtney King, Janet Leug, um, India Paulino. These girls, any girl would look at, and probably any guy, and be like, yeah, do that.
And they all look exactly the same they do today. They all look great today.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
They all look great today.
They
Yeah.
do. Yeah.
So,
Well, anything else you guys want to say on this topic?
no, I don't know. I don't like beating a dead horse, but I just I don't know. It's just I feel like more content creators are starting. There's another guy named Coach Colton on YouTube. He's a
Yes.
little more,
Yeah. I watch some of his stuff lately. I'm like,
Yeah,
yeah.
he calls
He,
people out.
but to be fair, he's not involved in our sport. I could do the same videos. I could take people and show the changes, and I've showed you guys, but I would
mhm.
never do that publicly because these people are
No,
my friends. I respect them, and I'm not
they're
trying to be
humans.
inflammatory. He don't care
Yeah.
about people's feelings.
No.
He's just going on people's Instagram 5 years ago and today and going, look at the difference in their voice, look at the difference in their face. He's talking about it openly, and it's probably a necessary evil at this point so girls can understand what's at stake.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's yeah, I watched one of them. He did one on a girl that trains at MI40 that a lot of us probably know. And the reason I stopped watching him, he was like, I thought she was a athlete. And I was like, come on, dude. Like, open your eyeballs. That's silly statements there with
Yeah,
that.
like I said, I think he's more on the okay, what's going to get clicks and views and get people
Yeah.
talking.
I think so.
Um,
Yeah.
but he's obviously educated and he's putting out like apples to apples comparisons of people.
Yes.
Yeah, and he puts a lot. I mean, I haven't watched a video of his in forever, but when you mentioned him a while back, Paul, I looked him up, and he puts a lot of time into his videos. You can tell because he
Yeah.
goes back and finds these people, like finds videos, finds pictures. Like he puts a lot of time into these videos. But yeah, he's a little bit more, I would say. I don't know. I mean, I think it's good information. I do think that like some people need to see these transformations and what could happen, but yeah, that's not what we're trying to do in this podcast. Again, we were just trying to kind of, I guess, give some food for thought, share our
I'll be honest, every now and then I wish a competitor who posts their picture from 3 years ago and today, look how much gains I've made, would show their voice, show their true
yeah,
face.
yeah.
Like what went into that?
And
Yeah.
and I'm gonna piggyback off of that and absolutely agree because I will say as a coach who coaches a lot of like I have a lot of first timers, I have a lot of newer athletes. I'll get some girls that they get really in their head thinking like, okay, I saw like so and so just posted this transformation, in a year of all the gains that they made, right? Like, and I'm not seeing that level of muscle growth. What am I doing wrong? And I'm like, well, not that everybody has to be open about their drug cycles, but I think it's also really hard for certain athletes to see these people's transformations in such a short amount of time of like, oh, I built, I gained 5 pounds of muscle in a year. And that yet they fail to mention everything that they took to get there, right? Like, I'm not saying that they didn't work hard, right? But you have these other athletes, these newer athletes that see that thinking, well, what am I doing wrong, right? When they're not doing
Mhm.
anything wrong, they're natural, right? Like, and I
Yeah.
see that side of things too that can be kind of tricky, especially as a coach that coaches a lot of newer athletes and just I have to be realistic with them.
And another thing I want to point out too is we all know a lot of these ladies personally that have gone through these types of like, you know, transitions with taking a good amount of gear and their voices changing, faces changing. I love every single one of them the exact same now as I did before. Like I don't feel a single bit different about them as people, as humans or athletes or anything. Not a single bit. They're great people. They're doing what they love and good on them. The main reason of us talking about this is just to make people aware, right? That
Oh, and that's
there's
why I don't publicly bring it up because I love respect these athletes, and it's I'm not trying to embarrass anybody or talk about them, and but it's a conversation that you guys and I will have in private, or I'll have with another athlete in private. If they ask me something, I'll say, well, I just want you to look what this person looked like 2 years ago and look what they look like now.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Was getting a pro card and being 37th at the Olympia worth that?
Right.
That's for them to decide.
yeah.
But I'm
And
telling
look,
you, like that's what they're not telling you.
but my main point is again, there's just consequences for things, right? Like if you go out and if you're a lady and you drink a bottle of wine every single solitary night for 3 years, you're gonna look older than if you didn't. And if you go outside and you live in Florida and you don't wear sunscreen, especially like as a guy, within 3 years, you're going to look different, right? So there's things have every action has a reaction. And it's just being aware of those, right? Like I'm the worst. I know I should put sunscreen on my face every time before I go out. I don't do it all the time, but I also realize the fact I don't do it all the time is going to cause me, you know, it's gonna make me
Yeah.
look a little older, younger, right? Like it's just understanding these types of things, not demonizing anything. It's just like if you don't brush your teeth before you go to bed, you're gonna get probably fucking cavities, right? It's just things like that. Things have
Being
consequences for not doing or doing.
self-aware. Yeah,
Yeah,
being self-aware. I think a lot of people, I'm sure there's a psychological term for this, but like I think a lot of people fall into the mindset with anything in life of like they may know the repercussions, but they're like, oh, in our head we tell ourselves, oh, I won't be that person. It won't happen to me, right? Like
of
the
course.
sunscreen,
We're always
the
the exception.
sunscreen thing, like, hey, yeah, as a female, like I know it's good to wear my tinted moisturizer that has SPF in it, right? But like, sometimes you stop wearing it and you're like, oh, I'll be fine. It won't happen to me. Nothing, like in your brain you think you're this unicorn when you're probably not.
Yeah. We all think we're the exception for every
Exactly. Yep.
reality.
We do, we do. Well, I also, to kind of wrap up this podcast, I did double check. So going back to what we said at the beginning, and if you're still listening about our San Diego event, it is officially, tickets are live on the Pro Physique website. So if you go to our website and go to the events tab, you will see the dates and the tickets that are available. And as Paul said, we are limiting it because Brett's gym in San Diego is a lot smaller. So we want to keep it very intimate. So if you're interested, tickets are available and live.
Perfect.
You guys in San Diego, and they're very limited. So let's
Yeah.
I don't want to hear anybody complaining. I didn't know about it.
And if you go to the Pro Physique events page, I think it's like the second one down
It is.
on the
Yeah,
list
it's
there.
the one. Yep,
So,
yep.
Well, I think our next transformation challenge is already live too, and we're already opening up the Facebook group for that, even though it's got a few weeks till it starts. But you can get your programs, your meal plans, all that stuff if you sign up for that now. All right. Well, make sure you comment below because I want to know how long you've been listening.
Oh
you've
yeah,
been
tell
listening.
us how long you've been listening. We would love to hear. And then also your thoughts on this topic. We'd love to hear it. There's no right
Yeah.
thoughts, wrong thoughts. Like this is a safe
Mm-mm.
space. Like hopefully we said this enough in this episode. We're not here to judge. I mean, so if you have thoughts, opinions, we'd love to hear them below.
Yeah, look, this is a conversation that I'm happy is being had in the open. Um, Anytime you shine light on things, it helps people kind of understand them more. And again, when I say do your own research, it's like with anything on this planet, how do you know where to get your research from, right? Like, how do you know who to trust, what not to trust with that? And it's difficult. I'm not saying it's easy. It's definitely not an easy thing to go through. I will say this though, especially in females, less is more. And one thing I want to just a good comparison straight across the board is any anabolic in a female is about 10 times more powerful than in a male. So if a female takes 10 milligrams of Anavar, it's more similar to a man taking 100. Or if a female's taking 12 or 50 milligrams of Primo, it's like a guy taking 500. So
Crazy.
remember those types of things along with it. That's not a straight one-to-one, but it's kind of just a good ruler
Yeah.
to think about. You do not need to take these high dosages because if there was a guy taking, say like, I mean, that girl was taking 100 milligrams of Primo. If a guy's taking, I'm taking 1,000 milligrams of Primo, I'd be like, it's a lot of Primo, right? So, it goes both ways. It goes both ways. And but the difference is guys can, outside of heart issues and things like that, you can get away with a lot. You can throw a kitchen sink at a man for the most part of it because we're built with those androgens in our bodies, at
Yeah.
much higher levels than females are. So just be aware.
All right, guys, please comment. Yeah, if you want to continue this topic or if maybe we should bring somebody on because we talked to Corey a lot about this topic. And, one thing that Corey said was like for her, just getting her levels to healthy through HRT and training hard, her physique changed. And that's one thing that Hannah said. I don't know I thought you might appreciate that.
Yep.
She's like, I brought my drugs down and learned how to train properly. And
Yep.
that's when my physique changed. So,
Yep.
yeah. All right, guys.
And if you're a
Talk to
new
you next
athlete in the
week.
sport, concentrate on the important things like
I
your
think we'll
training and your
probably
diet.
release the Brett Contreras interview next.
Yeah, we'll figure that out.
All
We
right.
can discuss that off. Yeah.
Later, guys.
Bye, guys.